Welcome into SportsSource.tv. This is our overtime segment. We do it each week after the show. Well, 9 out of 10 weeks after the show, unless the Patriots have an early game and I got to get out of here. We appreciate you joining us. I'm joined by Chuck Cavaleris, Jimmy Himes, Bob Hodge right here. This segment brought to you by Blue Smoke Cigar, and right now they have a huge event going on Tuesday the 17th. Tuesday, October 17th, the owner and master blender, I've always wanted to be known as a master blender, the owner and master blender for Foundation Cigars will be at Blue Smoke Cigar from 4 to 8 p.m. You can buy 5 single sticks and get 1 free. You buy a box, you get 15% off. You buy more boxes, the discounts get deeper and deeper, so that's better and better. Foundation Cigars, by the way, a really good boutique cigar company. They actually produced one of Cigar Aficionado's top 25 cigars, new cigars in 2016. So one of the top 25 was from Foundation Cigars, and their owner and master blender will be at Blue Smoke Cigar right between South Peters Road and Rafferty's on Tuesday the 17th. Get down there. It's a great Nicaraguan cigar. All right. Gentlemen, got some questions that were sent in, and I'm about to throw in one here as well. This one came even before we did the show. If they make a move, I don't want to talk candidates about why or not or that kind of thing, but I think this one's generic enough considering how he's the great white whale.
Gruden.
Would you even, if they make a change with Butch Jones, would you even call Jon Gruden?
No.
I would gauge his interest, but I would know very seriously he's not going to go there.
No.
Yeah, I'd call him, but I know what he's going to say.
I think it would be like the Bob Stoops call. You make him say no, or he says no. Have a good day, and hang up.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even call him. I mean,
Why not?
Because he hasn't accepted any NFL jobs. He turned you down a few years ago. Why even waste the nickel to make the phone
To
call?
pacify some of those moron
I
fans.
bet it won't pacify
There's
them.
a few
Well,
of
it
them
does
that are
if it
morons,
gets
yeah.
out that he said he wasn't interested.
I
No,
mean,
it doesn't.
there are people who believe it. There was a guy who ran a message board who had me come over to, this was the last time around, he had me come over to his place of business. I didn't know he ran a message board. I thought he was a business owner. He wanted to advertise in the Sports Source. So I go over and meet with him. We spent an hour and he's just talking Tennessee football. I'm like, well, I don't know that he's seriously going to buy. I then get something, because we start making fun of the Gruden hire on the show. We're putting the faces up and making fun of it. He then sends me, have you seen this? It just got posted on a message board. Ripping me. Pennington's an idiot. He doesn't know what's happening. I'm the one that's connected. I later find out, he tells me, now I'm the one that wrote that. And I said, what? What does that do? I said, well, we're just playing the game. This is how the game plays. That's not how I don't play games. You ask me my opinion, I give you a truthful opinion. You know, but this guy kept on. I told him, I said, look, man, I'm sorry I hate to do this to you, but he's not coming here. You're wrong. I've got sources. He's coming. Yeah. What about Gundy? It's a smoke screen. What about Charlie? Smoke screen. So the day before it's Butch Jones, and I put it out on Twitter that night. They're offering him tonight. I get a thing from him. You're wrong. It's going to be Gruden. I bet you dinner at Ruth's Chris.
Oh,
so those people who are so
What'd you order?
locked in, yeah, I didn't, like I'm going to go with somebody who's that crazy. But for those people who buy in that deeply, I think Jimmy's right. And I not only would call him, if he loves the program as much as he say, I would say, John, now you're going to release a statement. And you're going to say, if I was going to coach anywhere in America, it'd be the University of Tennessee. But it's just timing's not right. He wouldn't do it probably because that would cut down future calls from other schools, and he likes to be wanted. But if I were UT and I was going to call him, I'd say, and you're the one that's going to explain that you don't want it.
Wasn't even fool with it.
Okay, there you go.
And see, and also, a lot of times, it's not the person you call about that job, but you can ask, do you know of somebody you think might be worth talking to? And maybe he says,
Butch Jones.
That's what he says, my buddy Butch Jones.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I still value that relationship, and I think it's a good relationship to have on the positive side. Stay in touch, and he keeps giving you little plugs on Monday Night Football.
I just don't think that calling him about this, I wouldn't even. I'd move on.
All right. You guys think John Curry is surprised that he's in this position with Tennessee 3-2? I mean, the 41-0, that wasn't counted on. That was not just a loss. That was a historically bad loss. Yep. But do you think John Curry expected it to be this angry at this point?
No.
I don't think so either.
Not at all. I don't think he envisioned this coming. Look, he already fired and had to hire 2 people right off the bat.
Yeah, tennis and baseball.
And I don't think he wanted to go down that road necessarily again. And I think a lot of us, when we looked at it, we thought, there's a chance he may have to make 5 or 6 changes the first year. Yeah. But I don't think he thought that it would get this bad this quickly with his football coach.
When he joined us on the show, I asked him about it, and you knew what he was going to say. I asked him, hey, you make a move like this, it's the AD that immediately gets on the hot seat. Now you're on the clock. Well, you can't consider that. And I knew he'd answer that way. Any AD, nobody's going to honestly say, yeah, it scares the hell out of me. So he said, he gave the right answer, but here's the example. Nebraska, they had that bad loss a couple weeks ago. Nebraska, they didn't fire Mike Riley. They fired the AD that hired Mike Riley, which doesn't bode well for Mike Riley moving forward, but it's proof that if you make the wrong hire at coach, a football coach at a big football school, it's your butt that could be gone quicker than you might think. But I bet he's very surprised that he's having to do this at this point. All right. Thoughts on the fake DUI story and the impact? I think a lot of people think it's funny. They think coaches don't pay attention to that. Jimmy, you had is it fair for me to say that? You had a coach reach out to you and ask about it, did they not?
Sure did. Yep. It's disgusting. It's moronic. People that do that ought to be put in jail. I got no patience for all that crap. And one reason I don't is because I got to deal with it. And so do other people in the media. But you spend your time chasing it and making phone calls that are just a distraction. But why in the world anybody thinks that's funny to try to destroy the reputation of another person is beyond me. I think it's disgusting.
Well, and it also goes back to, John, something you said during the show. Why are you doing this to your program? You think it's funny? You think that's entertaining?
Well, I'll tell you why.
It makes you look bad.
Because some of these same people have admitted that they're cheering for Tennessee to lose. They figure the more they lose, the quicker the coach gets out of there. And if something like this gets out there,
this is crap. And what other coach wants to come here?
Yeah.
Is that the way you treat your coach?
See, that's a different level. It's one thing to not show up and to pull against your fans. That's against your team. That's one thing. But when you're putting fake news stories out, other coaches see that. And people think, well, you just offer enough money and they don't care. See, that's an oversimplification too. I've been offered jobs and I've never just said, oh, my check here is this, my check here is that, I'll go with a bigger check. I look at, do I want to move to that town? What's the boss like? What happened to the last 4 or 5 guys in that position? Did they all get whacked after 6 months? What's the family want to do? You look at different issues. It's not just waving cash in your face and you float like a cartoon following it. So this idea that you can make all these bad things go away and bad stories, that looks bad. I had somebody say Tennessee treated Butch Jones great. They used to say that there was a group, and 80% of this fan base is as good as any on the earth. They're loyal. It's the reason you got all those facilities. They give, they're supportive, but the 20% in every fan base that's wicked, this 20% is more wicked than anybody else, and you can't get mad at that because you claim it yourself every time you brag about #Vol Twitter. But coaches out there look at it, and they see fake DUI story. They know that at the U.S. Army All-America game last year, when kids were asked, what's the most annoying fan base on social media? Tennessee. They know they're going to have to recruit against their own fans. That doesn't help you moving forward in hiring coaches.
No, it doesn't.
Sorry. And I guess I summed it up there. But it doesn't make sense to try and harm your own school. Oh, I know where I was going to go. People talked about Conzo Martin was just a malcontent and left. We treated him fine. Most did. A lot didn't. Those that didn't, they like to pretend that nobody noticed what we did. It was all Conzo. Michael White noticed. Michael White said they wanted Michael White. And he said, I want a huge buyout if I'm going to come to Tennessee. I see what you guys do. I want a big buyout. And Dave Hart said, we're not in the business of giving big buyouts anymore. So he went and hired Donnie Tyndall. And Michael White was SEC Coach of the Year last year at Florida. And you're going to say, it had nothing to do with the fans. Well, I think it had everything to do with the fans. If you hadn't run off Conzo Martin in the way he was run off, Michael White isn't sitting there saying, I want $1 trillion buyout.
And Conzo's was about a buyout too.
Yes, it was.
That was a part of his.
You didn't give him security.
Correct. He said, as he told me, I was being set up to fail. I'm going to get fired if I don't make the NCAA tournament. They've lowered my buyout. I need to restart my clock. That's what he did.
Yeah, this fake DUI story, that just stands out. There's a long list of things that happen here that you don't see in other places.
Well, somebody should get fired for that. I mean, that's something that
But
goes,
who you fired?
I mean, who reported it? Wasn't it in Nashville that it actually was?
No. The girl in Nashville called. She reported that it was a nasty rumor. That she talked to the KPD and they said it's a nasty rumor. But then somebody found her picture. Her name is Rippin, and the I-N, somebody spelled it E-N and created a fake Twitter account with her name and started putting fake information out. It wasn't her. She reported that it was crap.
Should be in jail.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
And or fired.
No, no.
all right. Candidates. What was I going to? Well, I wrote down candidates, but that's what I was going to tell you. I don't want to get into talking about this candidate versus that candidate.
No.
You got a coach over there. We'll talk in
Plus your list
generalities.
right now is infinite.
Yeah, we'll talk generalities if something happens, but that's everybody has a personal line that they draw, and some people don't care. They're talking about, well, it needs to be this guy. And
Well, I mean, I do
you
want
just
to throw
hire
mine
somebody.
out there. My favorite candidate's who wins next week.
That's kind of
And then he's off the list.
Yeah, the
if
Iowa
he
State
loses.
guys now
Yeah.
up there.
Oh.
3 weeks ago, everybody wanted Dan Mullen. Okay, well, Dan Mullen named.
But the Iowa State guy would be perfect for here. Now, I don't know his name, and I don't know who he is, but he beat Oklahoma.
And they were underdog by 30 points.
Well, it's also funny. You got all these people throwing names out there. They complained about, went and got a guy from Central Michigan and Cincinnati. Who cares about his conference titles? It's just an awful resume. Now, Scott Frost has been a coach for 15 games. Now, that's a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you, I don't know how you connect the dots. There's no logic. I'm part Vulcan, and it bothers me when things aren't logical. and then there's just no logic. And it's the same thing with, I hate Butch's rinky-dink system, this short yardage, shotgun crap. Now let's go get Chip Kelly or Dan Mullen, who run the
Yeah.
same offense. Anyway, somebody did write this. It's not particularly a candidate. Why wouldn't Peyton Manning be considered? Because he said he's not going to coach 40 times, maybe?
But I would think that Peyton Manning will be considered just about like Jon Gruden. And then you move on after going.
But you do call Peyton.
But he's a booster. He said how many times he has to say, I'm not going to be a coach.
Well, I know.
And why would he want to be a coach?
Well,
He's too smart.
I mean,
for
why
that.
would he want to be a
And
coach?
too
That's-
rich.
And he's also
Yeah.
too smart to be a politician. He said that the other
Right.
day, too. He said, I'm not running for Congress. I'm not going to be a coach.
I mean, that's just that one's the one that's funny, and it's kind of odd though that doesn't pick up more momentum than it does with Peyton. It's got momentum, but I think at least some people can sit back and go, he's worth what, $350 million?
Yes.
You know,
And having a big old
he's got-
statue unveiled today.
and
in
he's
Indy.
got lots of free time. You know,
That's such a huge commitment. He doesn't need that aggravation.
He doesn't want it either.
He doesn't want
Yes.
it. I mean, it's
and plus
That's
there's
the
the
bottom
thing: if
line.
I'm
He
a
doesn't
fan, I
want
don't
it.
want him because at some point in time I'm probably going to end up hating him.
and he said
You know.
that.
And people say, no,
You
that
know.
wouldn't happen.
He
Yeah.
said that.
Yeah, that was
Go
his
ask Johnny
comment.
Majors.
Yeah, or Philip Fulmer. I mean,
Yep.
that's you hire these guys, or Randy Sanders. Go ask Mike Shula at Alabama. They hired him. They were in desperation mode. They had the scandal with Mike Price. They're facing NCAA probation. Let's go get our guy Mike Shula to come in and hold this thing together, and they did. He came down there and held it together, and he won 10 games one year. And as soon as they could, they said, "Get out! You're fired." I mean, so no, you know my thoughts on that. I would, unless he's the best guy in America for the job, I would never want an alum, because eventually it ends badly. And
Yep.
you've cut the throat of an alum. But last one, why is Butch Jones scared to play freshman? I don't know. I think you can go broader with that. Why is Butch Jones less likely to play backups? These
And
last
that's a
2
good
years.
question. And I mean, to me, that's one of the chinks in his armor. I mean, I think that is a legitimate question. It's a legitimate concern, and it's a legitimate problem.
And it's one I can't answer. I
Yeah.
don't know.
And especially as much as recruiting is his cornerstone. I mean, that's what he does best. And when you're recruiting these kids, that has to come up. You know, playing time at some point.
That's right. You want to sell them on playing time, and look how many freshmen we played. Look how many times they played meaningful minutes.
And they did in 2014.
Yeah.
And,
They
if
had
I'm-
to, I
and
guess.
if, and if you're Georgia, you're saying, hey, we played 20 defensive guys in the first quarter in 2 straight games. I don't know about Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Right.
But-
You know, here's something. Before they had to play him, nobody knew who John Kelly was. And John Kelly comes out there, and what do you know? Hey, this guy looks like a pretty dynamic back, but yet you didn't play him at all. Well, we had Kamara. Well, then you put somebody on the field who, in some situations, looked better than Hurd in his last few games here, and looked about as good as Kamara. So there was no way for them to ever work him into the mix until they absolutely had to have him.
And
I think
you-
that's a big concern for this
It
coaching
almost
staff.
has to get back to the coaches don't trust them. I mean, don't you feel
Yeah.
like that
Yes.
has to be the answer?
Yep.
They don't trust them.
They look scared to play the backups, and especially in the fourth quarter against Georgia, it's 41-0, and you still don't have your guys in there. I mean, I don't grasp it. It's
That
like
still sticks with me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little like, okay, it could be worse. We could lose 48-0. Let's not put these guys in here. But what's interesting, though, is how it's changed from when he first got here. And he's become a more conservative coach. I don't know that that's all that surprising. I think when coaches don't have anything to lose, you coach like you don't have anything to lose. Suddenly, when you think you've got a roster that you can hang close with other guys, you're not going to take crazy chances. You think we're going to get it into the fourth quarter and let it be a fourth quarter game. And I think that's changed. I think he's become more conservative than the first 2 years he was here. I think he plays fewer backups than the first 2 years he was here.
It's true.
Well, I think it's what Chuck says. It's a trust matter. But what's funny also is you'll hear the coaches brag about all these backups. Yeah. So if you're talking about how good Schamberger is and how good Labruzzi is and how good some of these receivers are, then why are they not playing? I don't understand that. And I know you had a lot of trouble with Georgia. I had trouble with Indiana State.
Yeah.
A game where I thought you could have played a lot more people. So did you want to try to win by an X amount of margin? I mean, you had the game won in the third quarter. Let some of these other guys play.
Especially they talked about we're going to increase the rotation on the defensive line, and they really didn't in that game. Right. It's like, what are you doing? Let's talk very quickly, and then we'll get out of here. The locker room. When you lose, things get blown out of proportion, I think, and when you're winning, everything gets overlooked. I think it's probably exaggerated in both directions, but the weird tweets, the fights, again, you get fights. It doesn't look real good on the locker room front right now, on the chemistry front. Even if Marcus Tatum tweets out there the locker room's fine, to those on the outside, it doesn't look fine. Do you think we're making too much out of that? Is that just normal when a coach is on a hot seat? Or?
I think it is normal. I don't think we're making too much out of it. I think it's odd when you've had 2 fights in about 3 weeks where a player has gotten injured. That's not 2 linemen who finally start swinging because they're just going at it each other.
Apparently somebody swung a helmet.
I think it's problematic.
There were a lot of fights even when Fulmer was in his heyday among players. Albert Hainsworth tried to knock somebody with a weight pole or something.
Or whatever,
But when you have players getting injured, to me that brings it to another level. I have a hard time distinguishing a coach losing the locker room. I think Dooley lost it because his players said before the Kentucky game, we don't want to go to a second-tier bowl game. Yeah. So you've lost that. But what I do is I'll look and say, I want to see you giving effort on the field. If you don't give effort on the field, that tells me you've lost your locker room.
And I thought they did give effort. I wanted to see because it didn't look like it at UMass. I thought the first half at Georgia they gave effort.
Yeah, I did too.
Defense especially.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah.
And I don't think the offense didn't give effort. I just think it's bad offense.
I do too.
I just think it looks more and more like the claw offense. The last 2 weeks, it's looked more and more like that 2008 offense where there's just nothing to hang your hat on. There's nothing that
when
works.
When are you going to see Tennessee come out and play well right from the opening kickoff? Do we see that? I mean, they fall behind by 10 points or more just about every game.
3 years ago.
People say, Chuck, to me, that's the sign of a well-coached team, that you come out and at least you're ready to play. I mean, it's like Tennessee's MO is that they fall behind and have these great comebacks.
Yeah, but here's the thing, but it wasn't 2 years ago. It was the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So that kind of throws that. This isn't Butch always does this. Well, it was the opposite. He started fast and couldn't finish.
Well, from last year to this season.
Okay, well, I get that, but I don't think you can say.
But with this team, for whatever reason, they're not starting very well. I think it just goes back to their offense isn't very good. They scored 14 points in the first quarter in 5 games. 14. That's it.
Oh. I mean, and that's how you get beat. Yeah. And John, about the locker room, one thing I would say that I've heard, I think there is some discord or some problems there. And from some of the players, it may actually go back to how they feel like Butch Jones mishandled the Jalen Hurd situation. There was a lot of resentment there. And I don't know if that's a carryover, but I think if there is, that could be somewhere the divide began.
Well, here's the thing. If we start seeing them do a youth movement, and that's one of the things you see when one outlet for a coach is to throw an assistant to his death. And let the Sharks eat that poor schnook, and I'll survive. He doesn't have that option. So I don't think realistically he has that option this year. So the other thing that coaches do is they go to a youth movement because they can say, hey, I'm playing all kids out here. Look at the future. If he goes in that direction, you're going to see more. You think you see a discord in the locker room now? Because all the older veterans are going to be saying, whoa, I got pro aspirations. I came here, I worked just as hard. I've worked longer than these guys. Why are they out there? So he's just when you start losing, it all compounds on itself. and I'm afraid he's in that position right now. I don't see how he gets out of it. But
We'll see.
we'll see. And we'll talk about it next Sunday right here. If you want a preview of that show, of the game, Tennessee, South Carolina, join us on Fox 43 at 10:30 a.m. every Saturday. We'll be breaking down before, and then next Sunday at 11 o'clock, right down on Channel 6, we will be breaking down the game and how it went. So preview and breakdown every weekend, Fox 43, Channel 6. See you next weekend. Thanks very much.